Hello everyone and welcome back. So, man, has it been a week. Kind of one of the hardest weeks I think I've had at the house. And just because the work and the labor I was doing this week was rather rough. We had the tour this weekend, which was a lot of fun. But of course, it does take a little bit of time away from, working on the house and all that stuff. But for those who did come and show up, it was great fun. 45 people, 3 individual tours of 15 people each. It was... yeah, it was more people I've ever had in the house, and it was really cool to see. So, but for the main project this week, it was stripping the front of the building. And I do have to apologize because my time-lapse cameras, it was hard to kind of keep adjusting them back and forth. So there's not as much time-lapse as I would like there to be of the whole process. But I just had to stay on it. It was one of those tasks that it's like, it doesn't matter if it's completed for camera or not. I really just have to get this done, because I have so very little time to do it before the temperatures go or dip below 40 and it's no longer a viable option. So yeah, let's go ahead and just get out there and I'll show you what I'm talking about. So let's head out the front door and have a look at it. All right, so here out in the front yard, you can see kind of where I've started stripping. I kind of went to the joint up here because that's where those individual blocks stop. It's the same thing, it wraps all the way around the building like that. And there's another seam up here, does the same thing all the way around. And I believe some of the seams might be hiding down here under the corbels. But kind of hard to say. But you can see some of the joints here. And this piece around here, all the way around, actually came out really well. Most of the paint's off of that area, thank goodness. But we still have some problem areas. As you can see here, a lot of the paint didn't come that way. I haven't even touched the stuff on the bottom down here, so that's why that's still there. You can also see a lot of the damage that has happened here from the water intrusion and it not being able to escape because of the paint. The biggest example of this spalling is actually on the other side, so let me show you real quick. So here we go. It's really bad right here. Luckily the stone is really thick. There's a lot of it here. There's about 8 inches thick of stone. But this is what happens. So essentially, when the water comes rushing down the wall, it gets into the stone and, gravity feeds it down and it sits here. And because it can't escape out, it sits here and it creates essentially caves. This is almost the same way caves are formed. And yeah, it just turns your stone to a bunch of nothing. As you can see, I can just sit here and break it apart with my finger. And that's not much pressure, that's just me barely touching it. Same thing's going on here. We have a lot of these little areas. Luckily, most of the stone is in good shape. And I have found the product to correct and fix this. It is kind of unfortunate though, as they won't sell it to you directly unless you are a licensed person, and to go get licensed to be able to use the stuff, you have to go take a class in either Maryland or Brooklyn, New York. So, it's kind of rough to be able to go over there and do that. So maybe this winter I might go sign up for that course and learn how to do that. Either way, it not having the paint on it means that this stone will do better this winter. Although this being as bad as it is, ice and water getting in there does kind of scare me a little bit, so I might tape some plastic onto these areas just to stop ice forming inside of there. It won't prevent it 100%, but it'll still be better this winter than it has been in the past. And I mean, like I said, the bottom part overall, most of the paint's gone. We're back down to stone here, which is nice, and it does look better. This is a much straighter line. Everything is yeah, where it should be, I suppose, or as best as I can get it. But let this all be an example to you. If you're gonna paint stone, do not use latex paint. This does not work. This is not the right product. The right products actually are either lime wash, which is an okay thing to put on here. It will breathe. But the better thing through my research that I found is a paint called mineral paint. It's actually what they use mostly in Europe for a lot of their stucco and stone buildings. And that seems to be the correct option. It also lasts a very long time. about 50 to 100 years, it seems, for some of the products I've read about. So that's what this is going to get. Very expensive product, but you know, if it lasts longer, then it actually saves money in the long run. So, but you can see all these lighter spots are here or darker up there. That's all back down to stone, but you can see that all up there is all still paint. I got about 3 layers off, but they just kept painting and painting and painting over the years until it was ultra thick. So yeah, you can see it's back to stone. That's all still paint. So yeah, it's gonna be fun to get that all off. It was not an easy challenge at all to do this, so but it has to be done. So we'll be continuing some of this next week, along with some other projects, depending on what weather does. So that's that. Another little thing I messed around with this week was actually checking out the shellac on some of the pocket doors and kind of a few other little areas, but I wanted to show you that I know a lot of you guys really like the dark colored wood, but I wanted to actually show you what this should look like and what it will eventually look like, because I did take a little bit of steel wool and some denatured alcohol just to see what was underneath. So this being my stuck pocket door, this one doesn't move because it's jammed or something's going on with it, but this new one needs to be probably removed and fixed. But you can see this is the actual color. Same thing I did down here on this full panel right here. That's the actual kind of cherry shining through. Now I haven't waxed or anything like that. That's just taking basically liquefying the shellac, getting the dirt and grime off, and that's really what it's gonna be. So it's more of a red, less of this kind of, well, dark kind of ruddy, reddish brown color that a lot of the woodwork is now. But you can see the grain so much better, and it's actually really beautiful. So I cannot wait to get these things all cleaned back up. Now, of course, everything here in the parlor, because we're standing in the parlor, is all this cherry, but the other side of these doors is oak. And I took a little bit here, and you can see some of the beautiful tiger striping. And again, once I get a bit more shellac on this, my wax and everything like that, these things will really shine back up. They're just kind of in the state of let me see what's underneath. And yeah, you can tell they're gonna be beautiful because you can't see any of the tiger striping in this. I mean, you have to look pretty hard to be able to find it. But over here, it just kind of jumps out at you. And yeah, that's gonna be really beautiful when I get to that point where I'm doing that. So this week, the other huge topic, of course, was the tours, which were a lot of fun. It was great to meet you all 45 of the people who did come through. It was really brilliant. So we did it. I did 3 tours, an hour increments, and that was 15 people each time. And it was crazy to see so many people in here and kind of see the place alive again. You know, like it has activities, and I don't know. It was cool to just hear new stories and things being discussed about the house. That, you know, who knows how long it's been since like really meaningful, awesome conversations have been had in this place. And so it was cool to see life, you know, breathe back into the place. And yeah, it was a cool little experience. I had a lot of fun doing it. I like, of course, talking about the house. That's why we're doing this channel. And it's cool to see new people be able to experience it, you know. It was awesome. It was really great. But since I have the house a little bit cleaned up, especially the front 2 parlors, I wanted to show you guys kind of what they got. Just a little brief hint, just in case you weren't able to make it. So I can't imagine what giving a tour to 100,000 people would be. That would be weeks on end. So let me give you a little bit of just a hint of what they saw on the landmarks tour this week. So we had them come through, had all this really beautiful light spilling out. It's of course a bit darker in here because that was in the morning, and it's starting to get a little bit late and a bit stormy here in St. Louis. So house has a slightly different mood depending on the lighting outside because we don't have a lot of electric. But I had all of the relevant items over here kind of hanging out. Of course, the tiles, which are still some of the most miraculous things to ever come back to me. Of course, for those who haven't seen it, these are the tiles that I got back. They're the original tiles to the mantle here that was stolen out of the house. You know, here's the man himself, Charles S. Brown. We all know and love him. Some of the little fixtures and stuff that I've got. Some of the woodwork that we've cleaned up upstairs. Of course, the rocking chair we got from David last week. We got the lucky one chilling here in the formal parlor, which is brilliant. Some of the paintings, or the painting that David gave us also last week. But you know, it's cool again to see, you know, a light on in here and have all that activity, and yeah, it was just brilliant. It was a good time, and since it's a little bit cleaner and kind of prettied up and displayed in a way, I wanted to show it off to you guys. And also, yes, this painting, Dresden, really rad. I can't believe you guys figured it out that quickly. I was actually going to guess that I had mentioned to my father, you know, it's probably a bombed out part of Dresden and it won't even be there any longer. But yeah, pretty brilliant little print here. Thank you guys so much for sending all the information about this. And thank you again, David, for giving me this amazing piece. So all parties involved, you guys rock. Thank you so very much. All right, guys, so that's going to do it from here this week, mostly because we have a storm rolling in. That's supposed to be a really bad one, and I got to get home and edit this video for you all. But next week, there's a lot of stuff going on. It will either, depending on the weather, of course, be stripping outside, and I actually have to start doing the electrical in here. I guess a little bit about the electrical guy. The electrician, he didn't end up working out. So I do have the 2 panels. It's nice to have those. Most everything else, I'm going to actually run the lines myself and have an electrician come in and hook everything up. So I've got to start popping holes in things, but as it were, most contractors don't care for the house like I care for the house, of course. So I can be more careful. They would be more clumsy, probably cause more damage. So at the end of the day, this is probably a good thing. It probably means I can save a lot more plaster and poke just minor holes and fish things through as opposed to forcing them through like maybe some of these guys would, or removing more plaster. So that is the plan for that. Yeah, I do have a huge amount of peel away, the stripper now, so I can do more of the stone front. My goal kind of before winter with that is to hopefully get the entire first floor, so where the first floor windows connect to the next piece of stone above it, I want to get all of that done. It is the most heavily damaged area of the entire building, so I want to get that done first. So hopefully I can get to that. We'll see. I also made a mock-up this week of some of the color schemes that I believe are appropriate for the building. The ones that I believe are, if not original, have at least a hint of being potentially original. So I want to show you guys that mock-up and kind of show you how I came to the conclusion of that. But with the storm coming in, I'm going to have to do that at the house, or at my current place. So I'll meet you guys there, and we'll finish the video out over in that spot. So see you guys then. Okay, everyone, so I am back at home. The storm has passed, and I wanted to share with you all this book. But before we get into the book, I want to show you guys the mock-up I did of the house. So these are the colors I'm hoping to go with. To me, the the sepia tone photo of the house back in the day has some features that have kind of helped me or led me along to some of the colors I've chosen. Now, of course, the green of the window sashes just matches the ones I've already done in the back. Those either would have been green, really dark green like I have them, or they would have been black. The front of the building, I don't know why I feel so compelled into it, but I really think it was yellow. There's some slight evidence of that on the structure itself, but of course with something like that I can't be 110% certain. I suppose I could send something off to a lab, but then when they get is the very last, or the coat that was on it underneath all the layers. It doesn't mean it's actually the original coat. So somewhat of a mystery there. Also, the roof slate, I know the color of the roof slate because when we went up on the lift with Eric, the guy who's going to be doing the mansard, I actually saw the original colors of the slates. So the main bulk of the roof is a blue-gray slate, And those little diamonds that you see on the top and bottom are actually a green slate. And so they're heavily exaggerated in this photo because obviously the colors I chose were just one solid color, where slate is kind of multicolored. But I know that's the actual color. But back to this book real quickly. Now, why I chose the color of yellow I did, this book I actually found in the house. And the reason I chose that yellow is because this book has some really cool things in it. Like these little plates that have houses in different colors. Now, this is a reprint of a book from, I believe, 1887. And so this is right around the era where my house would have been designed and picked out and stuff like that. And it has all these fabulous houses in varied colors. Now, the nice thing about it is it have these little numbers here. And these little numbers tell you some of the colors. Now, these numbers correspond to swatches, if you can believe it, in the back of this book. Let me quickly flip to those. And so I started examining the colors. And colors like this kind of pop out to me. It's getting kind of closer. Same thing with some of the greens and the lighter shades. So that's kind of how I've based my color scheme around, is because these are colors from the period. These are the correct ones that would have been looked over and chosen for. So I feel like I've made a pretty good guess of it. Now, back to the old photo, it does seem that the window sills are a slightly different color, which is why in the rendering they're basically just one shade of yellow darker. So I feel that's correct. The base of the building also seems like it's a shade lighter as well, so I imagine it will match the cornice. So hopefully we'll be able to do that, but of course in my coloring I didn't have it's the same one I used for the t-shirt, so I didn't have the full sketch of the building done, so I kind of just utilized what I had at the time. The detailing in the cornice as well will also be dark green. And I use that lighter color because I didn't want to use solid white because it wouldn't match the windows I've already put in. So it's that antique white color. And I found another document online that's close to these swatches and used actually their version of that white for that cornice. So that's kind of where I have planned. I think it looks really spectacular, and I kind of can't wait to see it come in person. And since I've been stripping the building this week, it's kind of cool to do like a little thought experiment, if you will, of what will the building be when done. And so while there's still all the messed up bits on it in this rendering, and there's all the decay still there, and the dormers are all kind of crooked, it's still really, I think, amazing to see it in full color. Like, it's kind of the first time I'm seeing it, and I'm liking what I'm seeing. I really am, and I can't wait to make this the old girl shine again. So guys, that is the end of the video. I appreciate you guys always for being here. It's been a great ride, and you guys make it all the better. So from a hard week here in St. Louis, I thank you guys greatly. Have a wonderful, wonderful rest of your week, and we'll see you guys next week. Bye-bye.